One day, while the family were out shopping in a local drugstore, Dave Grohl nagged his mother into buying him an album of his own, a K-Tel compilation which had been heavily advertised on television. Released in 1976, Blockbuster promised 20 original hits by original stars and features some of the biggest anthems of the era, from Casey and Sunshine Band's That's the Way I Like It to Alice Cooper's Only Women Bleed. Back home at Kathleen Place, Dave commandeered the stereo for the next few weekends, bugging the out of his big sister by lifting the stylus every 3.5 minutes to play one particular track over and over again. The Edgewind Group's Frankenstein was one of the 1970s more unlikely number one singles. Originally a sprawling live jam, allowing the Texas-born Winter to demonstrate his virtuosity on a variety of instruments on his 1972 album, They Only Come Out at Night, Frankenstein was a spacey synthesizer-led progressive rock instrumental featuring a spiraling saxophone solo and mid-song drum duel. The following year, the track was used as the B-side of the band's Hanging Around single. But as disc jockeys nationwide began playing the track in response to listeners' requests, Winter's label, Epic, flipped the 7-inch and began plugging Frankenstein as a single. In May 1973, the song reached number one on Billboard Hot 100, eventually selling more than 1 million copies. As track 9 on the Blockbuster compilation, it would change one little boy's life forever. To me, that was just the best sound I had ever heard in my life, Grohl later enthused. To this day, it's still one of the most amazing songs you've ever heard in your life. On the wall of that bedroom, Grohl had tacked a poster of the cockpit of a 747 aeroplane. At the time, the young man dreamt of becoming a pilot, of leaving Springfield behind and escaping to new places, experiencing new things. But if his next musical discovery taught him anything, it was that he didn't actually need to leave his small bedroom in order to escape the realities of day-to-day life. For American teenagers from Long Island to Long Beach and all points in between, obsessing over Kiss was a rite of passage. On 31st of October 1976, a quartet from New York stomped onto ABC's The Paul Lynde's Halloween Special in kabuki makeup and stuck heels, and proceeded to Powhatan, France through lip-synced versions of Detroit Rock City, Beth and King of the Nighttime World for a national TV audience number of millions. For a generation of wide-eyed, awestruck young viewers, this was The Beatles on the Ed Sullivan Show movement, only with added flash bombs. My mother bought my father a nylon string flamenco type guitar when I was 3 or 4 years old, he recalls. He never learned to play, so it just sat around the house. And by the time I was 9, I'd broken 4 of the 6 strings on it. But with the 2 left, I'd learned how to make a chord and learnt Deep Purple standard Smoke on the Water, very Beavis and Butthead, and that was how I started playing guitar. While Grohl was getting to grips with his first power chords, his mother's new boyfriend, Chip Donaldson, a fellow English teacher and Vietnam War veteran, moved into the family home. Far from resenting this new alpha male presence, Grohl was in awe of the new arrival, and Donaldson's arrival started the fledgling guitarist's musical education in earnest. Chip was a brilliant man who I totally looked up to. He told me in 2009 he was a real wild outdoors man guy who was just as book smart as he was at home in nature. We would go on these crazy nature walks and he taught me to hunt when I was 10. He moved in with us for a few years and brought his record collection with him. Our living room went from being a conservative suburban Virginia home living room to crates of albums on the wall and maybe deer antlers and a gun rack. It basically turned into a hunting lodge with real good music. I learned a lot from his record collection. It was everything from Jethro Tull to the Grateful Dead to Rolling Stones to Phoebe Snow to Zeppelin to Jefferson Airplane to Dylan. All late 60s and 70s shit. Lynyrd Skynyrd was another big one. I remember listening to Freebird when I was 10 years old and thinking, God, if someday I could just play a solo like that, and Chip saying, well, if you practice, maybe someday, but I knew with all my heart it was wrong. Even if I practiced for years, I'd never be able to play that guitar part. And I still can't play a guitar part to that day. Please comment.